Why hello there, I'm Gordon from Camera Labs and this is the Panasonic Lumix G90, or G95 as it's known in North America, or G91 as it's known in Germany. It's a mid-range mirrorless camera based on the Micro Four Thirds standard, reassuring us that Panasonic remains committed to the format, developing it alongside the full-frame Lumix S series. The G90 or G95 is the successor to the 2-year-old G80 or G85 and sports a 20 megapixel sensor with built-in stabilization, a fully articulated touchscreen and unlimited 4K movie recording. It costs $1,199 US or $1,079 British pounds for the kit with the Lumix G 12-60mm lens that you can see here, and this pitches it directly against Sony's A6400 and Fujifilm's X-T30. I had a chance to try out a pre-production model at an official press briefing, and this is my hands-on first looks review of it. And if you find my reviews useful, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot, now on with the video. The Lumix G90 or G95 is equipped with a 20 megapixel 4/3 sensor without a low pass filter for crisp results. Panasonic described it to me as a new sensor with the photo quality expected to equal the Lumix G9. That gives it a boost over the 16 megapixel G80, G85. In a continued key advantage over the competition, in particular the A6400 and X-T30, the sensor is stabilized within the body using a 5-axis system that can work alongside the optical stabilization of Panasonic's dual IS2 lenses to deliver up to 5 stops of compensation. Now this stabilization is the same as in the earlier G80 or G85, but it's still a valuable feature that's lacking on its main rivals. Autofocusing continues to use the contrast-based DFD system, unlike the phase detective rivals, and I'll compare them closely in my final review because you shouldn't necessarily assume that one is always better than the other. Meanwhile, the Micro Four Thirds mount gives the G90, G95 access to the broadest collection of native mirrorless lenses, a benefit that many forget when discussing the format. In your hands, the G90, G95 looks and feels a lot like its predecessor, but that's no bad thing as you get a dust and splash resistant body, something that's not a foregone conclusion at this price point, as well as a large, comfortable grip with a very tactile coating. In fact, I'd say it's the most comfortable to hold in its peer group. The body weighs 533 grams, including battery, but no lens, so it's light, but not so much that you fear for its build quality. There's 2 kit zoom bundles available, one with the Lumix G 12-60mm seen here, and another with the Lumix G 14-140mm. The 12-60 already sported weather sealing, but now an updated version of the 14-140mm has weather sealing too. The top panel is similar to the earlier G80, G85, starting with a drive mode dial that selects single and burst shooting with up to 6 frames per second with continuous autofocus or 9 without. Then you can access the 4K photo modes, which I'll talk about later, and finally the interval timer and self-timer options. On the right side is a traditional mode dial that includes intelligent auto, creative effects and 2 custom banks, as well as a movie manual mode. In a welcome upgrade over its predecessor though are 3 new buttons dedicated to the white balance, ISO sensitivity and exposure compensation, a considerate inclusion inherited from the G9. There's also a dedicated movie record button, as well as front finger and rear thumb control dials, the latter featuring a button in the middle that acts like a shift key to access alternative settings. From the rear, Panasonic's made some adjustments over the G80, G85. There's still a dedicated collar for adjusting the focusing mode, but there's now the welcome addition of a rear thumb wheel, providing a 3rd tactile means of adjusting options, something you wouldn't expect on a camera at this price, although I would actually like it even more if there was an AF joystick too. Meanwhile, the Viewfinder employs the same 2360K dot OLED panel as its predecessor with the same 0.74 times magnification as well, but that still delivers a bigger image than its current rivals do. Thankfully, Panasonic has kept the side-hinged, fully articulated screen an absolute necessity for anyone who vlogs or films pieces to camera. Yeah, I know you might not be a vlogger and don't care, but it's still useful if you're shooting in the portrait orientation at high or low angles. I prefer this articulation to the vertical flip motion of the Sony A6400, and of course both of those cameras beat the X-T30 in this regard, whose screen can't face forward at all. Oh, and the screen isn't exactly the same as its predecessor, as the new model upgrades the panel from LCD to OLED technology for a punchier image. As always, Panasonic makes good use of its touchscreen, allowing you to tap to reposition the AF area, and now in a feature inherited from the Lumix S models, even drag out the size of the AF frame itself. You can also use the screen as a touchpad when composing with the Viewfinder, although again, I'd have preferred there to also have been an AF joystick, like the XT30. Meanwhile, the menus may not have received the makeovers of Lumix S, but the Q menu remains fully tappable, as does the main menu system. You can navigate it all by touch, or of course you can use the dials and buttons if you prefer. On the side, the microphone input now finds itself repositioned nearer the top of the body, a considerate move which allows the screen to flip out unobstructed. Then behind a large single flap you'll find USB, HDMI, headphone and remote jacks. The headphone jack is a welcome upgrade to have here, and a feature that's absent on the A6400 and one which requires an adapter on the XT30. It's also funny to recall that the earlier G80, G85 couldn't actually charge its battery over USB, so thankfully Panasonic has also resolved that issue here, while additionally supporting USB power delivery. This puts it in line with its rivals. Although notice that it uses an older micro USB connector rather than USB-C. Meanwhile, the HDMI can output 422 8-bit, and there's also now Wi-Fi complemented by Bluetooth to match rivals for wireless connectivity. Like its predecessor, there's a single UHS 2 SD card slot. You wouldn't expect two at this price, although unlike most mid-range cameras, I'm pleased it's still housed in a dedicated slot on the grip side, which is so much easier to access than inside a cramped battery compartment underneath. Speaking of the battery, the camera is powered by the BLC 12E pack, rated at 1200 mAh and quoted as delivering a fairly modest 290 images in normal operation, or up to 1000 in a power saving mode. Remember though, the G90, G95 can also now be charged and powered over USB. The sensor captures 20 megapixel images, that's 4 megapixels fewer than the A6400 and XT30, not to mention from a smaller sensor too, but in my tests with previous models I found the resolution and noise levels between 20 megapixel Lumix sensors and 24 megapixel APS-C sensors to be actually closer than you'd think until the very high sensitivities. Also remember, neither the A6400 nor XT30 features built-in stabilization, so if you're not shooting action, you'll typically be able to deploy lower ISO sensitivities. Anyway, I'll fully test and compare the G90, G95 when final production samples are available. The G90, G95 can film 720 video at 25 or 30p, 1080 video at 25, 30, 50 or 60p, or 4K at 24, 25 or 30p, and in an upgrade over its predecessor, at least in European regions, the clip length in any mode is now unlimited. You can keep filming until your battery or card run out. It's like the Sony A6400 in this regard, with both models being able to record for way longer than the Fujifilm XT30. And in a necessary upgrade over its predecessor to keep it in line with rivals, there's now also slow motion 1080 video up to 120p, although without sound or continuous autofocus. Sony wins the slow motion contest with both sound and continuous autofocus. I'll confirm any video crops in my final review. In a surprising move, Panasonic includes the V-Log-L profile on the G90 G95 free of charge, a profile designed for subsequent grading that's previously involved a paid firmware upgrade on its flagship bodies. So if you want V-Log-L at the lowest price, just grab the G90 or G95. That said, both the A6400 and XT30 also include very flat profiles for grading later. As you'd expect, the G90, G95 features face and eye detection, and as seen here, the crosshairs over the eye are like the Lumix S bodies, although the engine itself doesn't support the body or animal detection of those latest full-framers. I feel Sony still has the lead on eye detection, but again we'll see how the final production samples measure up. Like other Panasonic cameras, there's 4K photo, which provides an easy way to extract 8 megapixel JPEGs from short video clips captured at 30 frames per second. Unlike most rivals though, 4K photo takes a photographic approach to this rather than just grabbing frames in video playback, with neat modes that include pre-burst, that captures 1 second's worth of frames before fully depressing the shutter to ensure you don't miss the moment, and post-focus, which lets you refocus images after the event. While there's nothing new here over the previous model, and sadly no 6K option either, I still think 4K photo remains one of the best approaches to exploiting high-res video for still photography. There's also a built-in interval timer as well as stop-motion video options, and inspired perhaps by the Olympus Live Bulb mode, the G90 G95 also debuts a new Live View composite mode that can make long bulb exposures easier to manage. The Lumix G90 G95 takes the popular G80 G85 and brings it up to date with a high resolution sensor, unlimited recording times, USB charging and power delivery, a flat profile for grading, a headphone jack and Bluetooth to complement its Wi-Fi. These upgrades are necessary to keep it competitive against similarly priced rivals, most notably including the Sony a6400 and Fujifilm X-T30. And as before, it'll be a case of weighing up whether the built-in stabilization, fully articulated screen and 4K photo modes of the Lumix are more important to you than having a slightly larger and slightly higher resolution sensor with embedded face detect autofocus and faster shooting with continuous autofocus. There's no definitive answer that will address all people, but what I can say is, like its predecessor, the G90 G95 is a very well-rounded mid-range camera that will appeal both to photographers and videographers. Indeed, video creators and vloggers will love the combination of built-in stabilization, a side hinge screen, headphone and microphone jacks, unlimited recording times, and a flat profile for grading. We'll just have to wait and see how well the autofocus can stay locked on faces. And that's about all I can say for now with this pre-production body, so until I get to test a final sample, I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. One thing's for certain though, the rumours of Micro Four Thirds' demise have been greatly exaggerated. Right, you know what happens next. I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe, which is a free way to support your favourite creator, before then twisting your arm into buying me a coffee or getting my book. Simple, right? The links are below, so what are you waiting for? Thanks for watching, and see you next time. And if you do buy me a coffee, thank you very much.